All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It is that time of the week, folks. My key games for this weekend in the world of college football. Last weekend of the regular season, plenty of rivalry games on tap with huge implications. So let's see how these things are going to work out. Now, tomorrow for Friday, in the American, you have the 19th ranked Tulane Green Wave traveling to take on the 24th ranked Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, a spot in the AAC title game is on the line, and both of these teams could meet there next week as well. Now, Cincinnati is undefeated at home, but Tulane is also undefeated on the road. And you look at the way the Tulane has been playing this year, especially with running back Ty J. Spears as well as quarterback Michael Pratt. And then on the flip side for this Green Wave defense, you have to like what Dorian Williams at linebacker is giving to this unit as he's closing in on 100 tackles for the season. 10 interceptions by this Tulane defense. And can they force Cincinnati quarterback Ben Bryant into making some mistakes? Now, Cincinnati is not as dominant as they were last season, but they still continue to get it done. Also, look at running back Charles McClellan for Cincy to have an impact in this game, as well as wide receiver Tyler Scott. But you're talking about defense and linebacker Ivan Pace Jr. for the Bearcats could be the American Athletic Conference's Defensive Player of the Year, and he should be, as he already has 107 tackles on the season to go along with 9 sacks. This is going to be a good game back and forth, but I think Cincinnati pulls it out. And I'm going to take the Bearcats at home by the score of 27-23. Now, sticking with the games tomorrow, you got Baylor making the trek to Austin to take on the 23rd ranked Texas Longhorns, and a win by Texas coupled with a K-State loss would send the Longhorns to the Big 12 championship game. Now, both of these teams lost home games in the last 2 weeks at TCU. We saw Texas lose a couple of weeks ago by 7, and then, of course, Baylor just lost with the walk-off field goal when TCU was able to get their kicking unit out there as time expired. Now, can Baylor end the season on a positive note? They've lost 2 in a row, and they were picked by many in the preseason to win the Big 12. For Baylor, they want to keep it simple on offense, giving the football to running back Richard Reese. Blake Shapen, the quarterback, he's been up and down, and they're facing a Texas team that has alternated wins in each of their last 5 contests. I think Texas is going to rely on their big gun, and of course, their biggest gun is running back Bajan Robinson, and hopefully Quinn Ewers and this passing game can feed off of that, and also keep an eye out for linebacker Jalen Ford in this one for the Longhorns. This is going to be a good game, back and forth, two up and down teams, and I'm going to give the slight edge to Texas at home by the score of 24-20. Now you're going to have Nebraska traveling to Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes, and a win here by Iowa would punch their ticket to Indianapolis for the Big Ten title game. This is the end of another disappointing season for Nebraska. Of course, Scott Frost was fired midseason, and let's see what direction that this Huskers program is going to go into heading into the year 2023. Wide receiver Trey Palmer and linebacker Luke Reimer. For Nebraska, they're going to have a big time impact in this game in order for Nebraska to pull off the upset here. Now, for Iowa, will their offense be able to score enough points? We know about their defense, but their offense has been struggling all season long. And for quarterback Spencer Petras, he's not going to be a guy who's going to put this offense on his back. So that means Iowa has to rely on their running game. No Sam Laporta at tight end for Iowa in this game. That's going to be big, but they still have the talent defensively with Jack Campbell and Seth Benson at linebacker, along with Cooper DeJean in that secondary. And I think the defense, along with the special teams for Iowa at home, will be the difference. And I'm going to take the Hawkeyes by the score of 28-13. Now, moving ahead to Saturday, and the biggest of the big ones, will take place at noon Eastern Saturday afternoon in Columbus, when you're going to have the third-ranked Michigan Wolverines traveling to take on the second-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. This is a huge one in Columbus with national championship ramifications. Both of these clubs are undefeated. There's a spot in the Big Ten championship game on the line. And for the loser, they're not out of the picture in regards to the college football playoff, but they'll have to sit back and watch the proceedings of conference championship week next Saturday to see if they have an opportunity to get into the field of four. So you look at the Wolverines, and last year they got the win in Ann Arbor over Ohio State, and they did that by just running the football right down the throats of this Ohio State defense. The Buckeyes have the number one defense in the nation, and they've got to go out there and make a statement early on against Michigan. But then this Michigan offense also needs to make a statement early against Ohio State, and that's going to be on quarterback JJ McCarthy and Blake Corum. You want to go out there and establish your offense and give the Buckeyes something to think about defensively. The Wolverines have not been tested defensively like they will be tested on Saturday against Ohio State, because you think about the talent that the Buckeyes have. You got quarterback CJ Stroud. Will Ohio State have two healthy running backs in Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson? We got to wait and see. Jackson Smith and Jingba has been nicked up at wide receiver all year long, but you have to love the emergence of Marvin Harrison Jr. along with Emeka Egbuga. Tommy Eichenberg at linebacker for the Buckeyes has been solid all season long with 105 tackles. Now, the Wolverines have 31 team sacks, so obviously they want to keep Ohio State in second and third and long, but you got to try to find a way to contain CJ Stroud, which is easier said than done. But then this Buckeyes defense, 31 team sacks and 10 picks in regards to themselves. This is going to be a good game, and both of these teams want to go out there and flex their muscles. Only one team is going to be able to do that. I'm going to give the edge to Ohio State at home, and I'm going to get the Buckeyes the 41-24 win. Now, in the Pac-12, you're going to have the ninth-ranked Oregon Ducks staying in state and traveling to Corvallis to take on the 21st ranked Beavers of Oregon State in the Civil War. And a win for the Ducks would put them in the Pac-12 title game for the fourth consecutive year, while a loss would send Washington to Vegas to take on USC. Now, Bo Nix and his offense. Bo Nix was rolling a couple of weeks ago before the Washington game and the injury, and I think he needs to get back on track, as well as this running game for Oregon with Bucky Irving and Noah Whittington. Wide receiver Franklin could come up big in this game for the Ducks as well, and I like what they're doing in their secondary, led by Christian Gonzalez, as this defensive unit has 14 team interceptions. Running back Damian Martinez is going to be important for Oregon State if they're going to pull off the upset. And I think this game comes down to time of possession, moving the chains, and of course, who can do more with the football when they have it. I give the edge to Oregon on the road by the score of 31-20. Now you're going to have Purdue staying in state and traveling to Bloomington to take on the Indiana Hoosiers. And a win by the Boilermakers, along with an Iowa loss, would send Purdue to Indy for the Big Ten championship game for the first time in school history. I think for Purdue, they're going to rely on their big guys, and that's quarterback Aiden O'Connell, running back Devin Mockabee, and of course, wide receiver Charlie Jones. Purdue is the better team. They know what's ahead of them, and I don't see them slowing down on Saturday. And because of that, I'm going to take the Boilermakers by the score of 34-17. Now, back in the Big 12, you have the Iowa State Cyclones traveling to Fort Worth to take on the fourth-ranked TCU Horned Frogs. And for TCU, the question is, should they be on upset alert? I think they should. The Cyclones have the number 8 defense in the nation. And you look at the way that Iowa is playing defensively, if their offense had more semblance of order, we're talking about an Iowa State team that could potentially be playing for the Big 12 championship. And of course, we've seen how close that things have been for TCU in recent weeks as they've been walking that tightrope. And this is going to be another tough one here for them. Now, for Iowa State, their defense is going to keep them in the game, but they've got to score points, which means that quarterback Hunter Deckers, along with wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson, have to play outstanding. We know about the talent that TCU has on offense with Max Duggan, Kendre Miller, and wide receiver Quentin Johnson. I think in this contest, they have to make the most out of their opportunities because there aren't going to be a lot of opportunities going up against this Iowa State defense. TCU survives, but it's not going to be easy. And I'm going to take the Horned Frogs at home by the score of 23-17. Now, on Saturday night in Los Angeles, you're going to have the 15th ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish traveling to the Coliseum to take on the 6th ranked USC Trojans. And for the Irish, they are looking to not only spoil USC's playoff chances, they're also looking to secure a spot in a New Year's Six Bowl themselves. Notre Dame is rolling right now as they've won 8 out of their last 9. Quarterback Drew Pine, is getting a little bit better and better each week, but he's also relying on this solid running game with Audric Estime and Logan Diggs toting the rock. Michael Meyer at tight end could be a problem for this Trojans defense as they have to keep their eyes on them. And for this USC front, they've got to try to stop JD Bertrand, Jack Kaiser, and Isaiah Foskey from wreaking havoc. Now, after beating UCLA, the men of Troy cannot slow down. Big win last week at the Rose Bowl for USC, but they've got this one right here and then the Pac 12 championship game. And if SC wins out, I think they get to the college football playoff, but they have their work cut out for them because Notre Dame is a darn good team. You see what Caleb Williams is doing at quarterback right now for USC. And if he played further east, I think right now we'd be talking about him more in the Heisman race than he already is right now. Austin Jones has shown that he can come in and replace Travis Dye at running back for USC, and that's going to be important for this Lincoln Riley offense. And you still got to deal with Jordan Addison and Mario Williams at wide receiver. Now, Tui Pulotu, has 11 and a half of USC's 33 sacks this season. Will the men of Troy be able to put some pressure on the Irish in this one? We have to wait and see. Notre Dame is not going to go quietly, but I'm going to give USC the edge, and I'm going to take the men of Troy at home by the score of 38-27. Now in the Big 12, you're going to have Kansas traveling to the Little Apple to take on the 12th ranked Wildcats of Kansas State. And a win by the Wildcats would send them to Arlington for the Big 12 championship game. Now, Kansas, after that strong start to the season, has lost 5 out of their last 6. They've got to get back on track, and which means that they have to rely on their running back, Devin Neal. But then it's going to be all about the running game in this one because you look at how K-State runs the ball with Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn, and that could be a problem for this Jayhawk defense. It's going to be a tight one, but I'm going to give K-State the edge at home by the score of 28-23. And finally, on Saturday night in Pullman, you're going to have the 13th ranked Huskies of Washington traveling to take on the Cougars of Washington State in the Apple Cup. And of course, a win by Washington along with an Oregon loss would send the Huskies to the Pac 12 championship game. Now, the Huskies have won 5 games in a row. You look at how Michael Penix is playing at quarterback, as well as wide receivers Rome Ondunze and Jalen McMillan. Now, the Cougars are looking to make it consecutive years with wins over the Huskies for the first time since 2008. Can they get it done? Got to wait and see. But if Washington State is able to hold serve at home, it's going to mean that quarterback Cam Ward had a big game, along with linebacker Dan Henley, who already has 102 tackles, on the season. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to give the Huskies the edge, and I'm going to take Washington by the score of 38-32. So, folks, those are my picks for this final regular season weekend of this college football season, which has been tremendous so far. I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. And if you like what you saw and heard tonight, please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button on this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care, and thanks again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Happy holidays, everyone.